It is true that the developments since the last war in Britain have so increased the progressive character of the income tax as to make the burden of taxation progressive throughout, and that through redistribution expenditure on subsidies and services, the income of the very lowest class has been increased by as much as 22%. But the later development is the latter development is little dependent on the present high rates of progression, but is financed mainly by the contribution of the middle and upper ranges of the middle class. Therefore, it is written that this redistribution of the expenditure among all the classes is actually not the case. The case is that the upper and middle class, they are sponsoring the uh, the you know this high rate of progression, which means that this income of the lowest class this is being is dependent on mainly the money that is coming from the upper and the uh, upper classes of the society. Okay, and this progressive character of the income tax is actually not progressive because it is making the burden on the middle class rise. Arguments in support of progression can be used to justify any degree of progression. Its advocates have realized that beyond a certain point, the adverse effects on the efficiency of the economic system may become so serious as to make it inexpedient to push it any further. But the argument based on the presumed justice of
Hi, John.
progression provides for no limitation, as has often been admitted by its supporters before all incomes above a certain figure are confiscated and those below left untaxed. Unlike proportionality, progression provides no principle which tells us that the relative burden of different persons ought to be. It is no more than a rejection of proportionality in favor of a discrimination against the wealthy without any criterion for limiting the extent of this discrimination. Because there is no real rate of progression that can be demonstrated by formula, it is only the newness of the principle that has prevented its being carried at once to punitive rates. But there is no reason why a little more than before should not always be represented as just and reasonable. So here the author is trying to explain that the rate of progression is not in proportion, is not equitably distributed among all the sections of the society. Rather, it is disproportionate. Therefore, this favoring people who favor the this progression taxation system, this is not having a righteous effect on the economic system, rather than it is having an adverse effect, it is having a negative effect. From this we can understand that the tone of author is um, is negative. It is argumentative because he is giving us logic to why he is against the progressive tax system, and why he is in support. Later we will see that he is talking about the great merit of the proportional taxation. So here we will see why he is for this proportional taxation, because in the progression taxation here you see that there is no principle which there is no rule which tells us like how this burden should be distributed among different people. So you will see that here, like the 20% tax on one person's income and a tax of 75% on a larger income of another person are equal. But it is not because but it does not make any sense to give a tax of 20% and to give a tax of so much more. Like, there should be a proper uh, distribution of proportional distribution, right? Therefore we see it is the great merit of proportional taxation that it provides a rule. See, it provides a rule, and here it was no principle which is likely to be agreed upon by those who will pay absolutely more and those who will pay absolutely less. Okay? Once accepted, raises no problem of a separate rule applying only to minority. Even if progressive taxation does not deem the individuals to be taxed at high rate, it discriminates by introducing a distinction which aims at shifting the burden from those who determine the rates onto others. So, people who are determining the rates, they are shifting the burden to the others. In no sense can a progressive scale of taxation be regarded as a general rule applicable equally to all. See, this progression cannot be applicable equally to all, which means that it is not equitable. Progression provides no criterion whatever of what is and what is not to be regarded as just. So it provides no criterion of what is right and what is wrong. It indicates no halting point for its application and the good judgment of the people on which its defenders are usually driven to rely as the only safeguard is nothing more than the current state of opinion shaped by past policy. Let us see what are the questions. What is the primary focus of this passage? Subsidies and services provided by the government so as to ensure improvement of the masses. No, this is not it. Because here the author, though we are talking about subsidies and services, but here we are talking about progressive taxation and its implication. And to justify this is not correct for the society, we are introducing proportional taxation. Therefore, it is not. So we are crossing this. Corrective rates of taxation as imposed by the government for the benefit of the masses. Corrective rate of taxation as imposed by the government for the benefit of the masses. This is the corrective rate of taxation, right? Which, according to the author, is here is the we are talking about the progressive taxation which is being implemented in Britain, but the author is saying that this is not justifiable. Therefore, the corrective rates by the author by the government is not still imposed. So this is a wrong fact. Aspect of progressive taxation as envisaged by the author. It is the author's point of view. This this art this it is everything is the author's point like provides. It is the author's opinion. Everything here which tells us is the author's opinion. Okay? Necessity of proportional taxation to give a thrust on the development of society. Here, nowhere it is told that this will lead to a development of the society, right? So we are only using proportional taxation in a way to say that why this is not justifiable. Okay, that's it. Let's go. Here, the same thing has been told. Why D is incorrect? Because D is incorrect because it is the alternative to progressive taxation. Okay. So let us see the all. Okay, we can't just shift. No, we can shift. So, where are the other questions? So just trickle down to here. Okay, okay. Let's go beyond. Here it is. Which of the following is an effect of progressive income tax? See, here you can negate the options because it provides a principle. This is this an effect? No. This it limits the discrimination against wealthy. This is an effect? No. It cannot be carried to punitively. Therefore, this is the only effect because in the first line it is being said that 22% increase there has been because of progressive taxation. Therefore, it has paved the way for the lowest rounds of the society to earn at least one fifth more than what they were earning previously. So here we see 22% increase. Next question, we come to here. Which of the following is not a characteristic feature of progressive taxation? Um, it is a general rule. Feat is not a feature. See, it is a general rule applicable equally to all. Is it? Then why are the wealthy being taxed more and disproportionately being taxed? Okay, without any rule applicable. So is it a characteristic? It is not a characteristic. Therefore, this is the answer. Let us see the other options. It is discriminatory against the wealthy. This is a characteristic. This is harmful. This is a characteristic. We say it like it is adverse effect on the economic system. It is confiscatory in nature. Yes, it is confiscatory in nature because certain figures are confiscated and those below left untaxed. So above a certain income, so if I take like this is a standard income, everything of that, there is no rule justifying the proportion of taxation on this. And anything below this, they are not going to be taxed. In everything above this, they are going to be taxed in disproportion. Okay, so we have just four questions to this. Okay, this one more question. This passage argues against a separate rate of taxation for a minority on grounds that, see, financially infeasible, nowhere it is said. Monetarily irresponsible, out of box. Okay, fairly inequitable. Obviously, fairly inequitable because if I'm going to create this passage argues against a separate rate of taxation for a minority on grounds. I'm going to have a separate taxation for the minority, then am I not burdening them? Am I not being unfair to their income? Therefore, this is the right option. reactive to major social change out of the box. So we have done quite good.